welcome to September's edition of HR Hot Topics. I'm your host, Jodi Schafer, and this month we're going to talk about independent contractor status. I've actually had several calls on this over the past month, and so I thought it would be a timely topic. There haven't been any major updates in this area, but I think it's a good reminder for all of you, especially in today's day and age. There's something that I've heard referred to several times, the gig economy. And I think what that basically means in layman's terms is that when we have special projects that require a certain skill set, rather than hiring an employee to come on your payroll and perform that skill set, outsource it to a contractor or an independent contractor, a vendor, and have them just complete the project. It's cheaper and it gives you a little bit more flexibility in your workforce. And so that happens a lot in the creative services realm. So marketing, graphic design, copywriting, PR, those kinds of things. Also in IT, you see that a lot. Maybe your office isn't big enough to have an IT person on staff, but you have a company that you can call and they act as your help desk, for example, and you pay them as a vendor. Now, the two questions that I got this month that I referred to in the very beginning here, both happen to come from the dental industry. In one, there was a practice and the owner of the practice wanted to bring in an associate dentist. So another dentist, but not somebody who was going to buy into the practice, and wanted to bring them in as an independent contractor. And the thought was, they're highly skilled and trained and we want them to have a lot of freedom and flexibility. And so we're going to set up this separate arrangement rather than making them an employee. And that all seemed well and good. The dentist, the associate dentist that came in, was very happy with that relationship. Of course, the practice was happy because with independent contractors, you're not paying payroll taxes. You're not having to pay the unemployment insurance agency on those taxes either. And most of your independent contractors are exempt from employment and labor laws. And so you can see why a lot of companies would prefer to have that status with several of their individuals. And so this practice, good for them, good for the associate dentist. And what happened was the unemployment insurance agency came in to do an audit. And it was through that audit that they questioned the legitimacy of that relationship. And when an audit happens, whether it's the unemployment insurance agency that comes in to do an audit or it's the IRS, because independent contractor really is a tax issue, there are a couple of things that they're going to be looking at. And they used to have a 20-factor test, and then it moved down to like an 11-factor test, but really it's three main categories. So I want to share those with you today so that you can be thinking about your own relationships to make sure that if you have anyone classified as independent contractor, they truly are independent. So the three categories have to do with control, the amount of behavioral control you have over this individual, the amount of financial control you have over this individual, and the control or the nature of the relationship. And so a couple of questions to just sort of guide you through this. When it comes to behavioral control, are you telling this person when they need to come into work and when they can leave for the day? So how many hours they're working, when they come and go, how they perform the work that you are expecting them to do. So in the nature of this dentist, for example, the dentist didn't decide when they would just show up for the day. The practice booked the patients. And so the dentist had to be there when those patients were scheduled. So in essence, the practice was determining that work schedule. The practice was also doing the marketing for this dentist, this associate dentist. So when it comes to financial control, that associate dentist wasn't doing his own marketing. The practice was doing that. So he didn't have a lot of skin in the game financially speaking. The practice did all the heavy lifting. The practice actually billed out those claims for the patients that he saw, not the dentist. And that dentist was expected to follow the same basic protocols that every other employee worked in. So OSHA and HIPAA and infection control, right? They had to follow all those same protocols and procedures. And so it's that whole adage, if it looks like a duck, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, right? It's probably a duck. And so as you're looking at your own contracting relationships, you really want to make sure that from a behavioral standpoint, a financial standpoint, and then kind of that nature of the relationship, that the person truly is independent, that the amount of control that you exercise over where they come to do the work, when they come to do the work, how they do the work, how you pay them, and what happens if they don't do the work doesn't line up arm in arm with how you treat your employees. Because if that's the case, then they really probably should be on your payroll as a W-2 employee. And if you get caught misclassifying workers, the fines can be really steep, especially if it seems like this was an intentional misclassification. But aside from fines, you're going to have to owe all of those back taxes for payroll that you didn't pay because you didn't have them on your payroll. So they look backwards and they put you on the hook for that. And so it's just a really expensive endeavor. So when in doubt, my advice is that you err on the side of caution, make them an employee, cover them under your liability insurance in case anything were to happen in the workplace, you're covered there. But certainly if you have any questions on this issue, feel free to give me a call. You can reach me at 517-974-8033. That's my cell, or y'all know my email address too. It's Jodi Schafer at workwithhrm.com.